Hey folks, you know I take my trail camera intel pretty seriously. It's a huge part of how I build my hunting strategy, and I'm always looking for gear that just flat out works. Stuff I can rely on. Backed by solid people and the best customer support in the business. That's exactly why I run Tacticam Reveal cell cameras. Whether you're just getting started or you're a full-blown data junkie like me, they've got a camera to fit your budget and your hunting style. My go-to currently is the Reveal 3.0 series with fully integrated GPS. These things are dead simple to set up. Less fiddling, more scouting and hunting. And they run on most major service providers and will automatically connect you to the strongest signal in your area. So no more hiking to the top of a ridge just to realize you've got the wrong service provider. Been there, not fun. Here's the kicker. You don't even need an SD card. That means fewer trips in, less pressure on your spots, and more real-time intel sent straight to your phone. And if you pair it with a Reveal solar panel or a lithium cartridge, you can keep those cameras running longer and spend more time doing what actually matters. Scouting new ground, dialing in a setup, or maybe, just maybe, finally cleaning the garage like you told your wife you would before the season started. Don't just take my word for it. Check out Tacticam Reveal at tacticam.com. Tacticam. Everything you need to take your hunting to the next level. Stay more comfortable, more concealed, and in the stand longer with Oscio gear. Premium camouflage apparel created for bow hunters by bow hunters. Oscio's revolutionary patented camo patterns and innovative features are designed to keep whitetail bow hunters totally invisible and dead quiet. Elevate your game with Oscio. Visit asiogear.com and take 20% off your purchase with code TRUTH20. If you're like me, e-scouting isn't just part of the process, it is the process. And nobody's doing it better than Spartan Forge. This is a veteran-owned company that built the only science-based scouting platform on real GPS collar data and artificial intelligence to predict deer movement. But where it really shines is with their imagery. Spartan Forge now has a high-res UAV coverage for 80% of the whitetail states, down to 5-centimeter detail. That means you can see trails, old logging roads, cuts, even subtle vegetation changes that most apps completely miss. And if you really want to get nerdy, their LiDAR layer breaks right through the canopy so you can see the forest floor. Gives you some visibility to those hidden draws, ditches that big bucks absolutely love to live in. Add in historical wind data and a desktop-only features like Eagle Eye and Cyber Scout, and you've got the most advanced hunting app out there. Start your risk-free 14-day trial today at spartanforge.ai. Welcome to the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Tacticam Reveal Cellular Cameras. I'm your host, Clint Campbell, and you're listening to episode number 483. Today, I'm joined by my buddy, Rendell Eric, to talk why slowing down makes you a better hunter. So stay tuned. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast. And today, I got my buddy on. You know him, you love him, affectionately known or referred to as the big guy or Rendell Eric. What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm kind of sore right now, but other than that, I'm doing good.
Yeah, we were just talking before we started recording. You got a workout in yesterday, and it was you're a little worse for wear today.
Yeah, day one was today. I was supposed to start like a while back, but procrastination.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started this like new whitetail focused workout program. A buddy of mine I met at a tethered event set it up for me. He's big into the mobility fitness and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little different than like powerlifting, so I feel like a lot of it's out of my ballpark, you know what I mean? But like I was telling you, when I started the 5-minute warm-up on the mobility thing, and I was starting to sweat, and I was crazy sore after that. I knew I was in trouble.
That's right, man.
When I got home, I couldn't even walk upstairs. I was holding on for dear life. Had the old wobble legs going on. I didn't even know I was going to make it out of the gym.
Yeah, man. Sometimes it's funny because some of that like lighter stuff, people will poo-poo if they've never done it before. They'll poo-poo like yoga and things like that. Like I used to do a lot of yoga for a long time, and I like it. I have a hard time fitting it into my schedule. And truth be told, it's like I should do a lot more of it than I do based on my age and the stuff that I like to do.
Yeah.
But if you've never done yoga before, like people will look at it and be like, "Oh, you're just stretching. You're just holding these positions." It's like, man, try to hold those positions for with good technique for any length of time, man. And
it's a brutal workout. You know what I mean? Like you can, and the truth of the matter is you can turn anything into a brutal workout, right?
Oh yeah.
If you have lightweight, you just do lots of reps, right? Or you add, variations that create more complexity or more complex movements if you're skilled enough in using correct techniques so you don't hurt yourself and all those good things. But yeah, it's like you'll see people talk about getting workouts in whenever they're like in hotel rooms and stuff like that. It's like if you have like a place to do push-ups and wall squats and stuff like that, dude, you can get a burner, no doubt.
Oh yeah, you can make it happen. There was classic stuff. I did like some deadlifts and leg press and stuff, but he had some other exercises I thought they were kind of weird. I'm like, oh, this ain't gonna do nothing. Then when I got into it and I'm at like rep 15, my whole body's like machine gunning, you're like, oh,
right.
dog. And you're like, all right, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about after all, I'm cooked on this too. Like you think you're gonna get like, oh, this set's gonna be easy. And then, oh man, nope, you're smoked.
Yeah, I learned my lesson.
I'm kind of nervous about the other days because, when you first start, it takes a long time because you're trying to figure out your weights and rep range and you know what I mean? You're going up in weight a lot. I mean, I pushed it a lot. Like, I don't know. He said take it easy, but I kind of pushed the weights a little hard. I wanted to know where I truly was at. Like, all right, let's test this out.
Well, so that's like what happens a lot, right? And I've learned my lesson from that when I hurt my shoulder, and I talked about that a bunch on here because that was like a whole saga for the better part of a year. But, I started working with my buddy Artem. Shout out to my buddy Artem. He has this, he's a sports physical therapist. He works with professional athletes, baseball players, in Major League Baseball, guys that are in the NFL, people who are on various Olympic teams, swimming and stuff like that. And it's a lot more correcting, like he would laugh at me because I don't know the terminology and stuff like that, but I'll say like the kinetic chain, right? So how your body wants to move or how it should move. And it's more about kind of reconfiguring that because a lot of times, injuries or deficiencies will crop up as certain types of symptoms and stuff like that. But they're really the underlying kind of issue that created the injury to begin with was something probably movement related where you were compensating, but you didn't know that you were because you were so out of whack, right? So he spends a lot of time kind of fixing that. He has a business called Rebuild BJJ because he's also a jiu-jitsu brown belt, so he works with a lot of jiu-jitsu at like basically everyone in my gym goes to him because we're all banged up for the most part. We got bad knees and shoulders and stuff. And so a lot of what he does, like whenever he first gave me the program to fix my stuff, I was kind of the same as you where I was like, oh man, like this is lightweight. Like, I should maybe be doing more or it's more intense. But once I started doing it, he had me start literally, now granted I had an injured shoulder, but he had me start literally with like a 15-pound kettlebell that I would lay on my back and do like these certain movements with my arm. Like I'm a grown ass man. I'm like 15-pound kettlebell. Like, come on, I can probably do a little bit more than that. But once he put me in like the position that I needed to be able to hold and move, that 15 was like you were saying, like I got like the shakes, you know what I mean? Because it was just my arm wasn't like functional enough to manage it or barely, you know what I mean? And then, he worked with me and now it's like, I'm good to go. But it's definitely humbling when you do some of that stuff, especially because technique is everything and not so much the weight, right? Yeah, just like in hunting, right? It's like, it's not about how many sits, it's about how many right ones you do,
Yeah, getting it right, going slow, pacing yourself, not just throwing the weights up there, really taking your time and trying to get that, mind to muscle connection. I mean, the guys talk. I don't really get that because I'm just a hillbilly, but
yeah. I know. I'm like, it sounds good, man. Like, I'm just gonna try to push the weight. Like, you tell me what it is.
Exactly. I tried to go slow, and I'm so tall too. I think my height does not help me at all because I got the weight so far away when I'm doing stuff. I wish I was a shorter guy, kind of like Cody or somebody. They're like little bulldogs,
Yeah.
Dude,
there's some truth to that, man, because if you think about, like, you have so much more ground, like just say you're doing like a bench press, right? Like you've got so much more distance to kind of get a complete rep, right? Where you watch a guy with shorter arms, like a Cody or me or whatever, like I don't have to manage that weight for nearly as long, but there's benefits and disadvantages to everything. Like I'd like to have your draw length.
Oh yeah, I mean, I get crazy speeds on
Yeah.
any bow I'm shooting because of that.
Yeah, it's
So I
like you can
like
shoot like a
that.
35-pound bow, dude, and you get like the thing will be ripping still.
Yeah, complete pass throughs, whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't worry
exactly.
about FOC or nothing. I just go out there with whatever.
Now, what is your draw length?
32.5.
32.5? Okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
tend to shoot shorter draw. I talked about it in some other podcasts, but I feel like I stay in the anchor point better when I'm in weird angles in a tree. If you're in a tree stand or saddle, I feel like I stay in there better than if I'm at my correct draw. And I know, bow technicians will eat me up, but
Right.
I just feel like when you're leaned out and it's super awkward, I feel like I can just lock in a little bit better. And I feel like the shorter draw, I can just get the full draw quicker. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just a mental thing, but
well, it's all comfort too, man, right? It's like I've always heard from like texts and stuff like that where they said, they would prefer, like, it's better to be slightly underdrawn than overdrawn.
Yeah.
So it's, you would rather hedge on that side of it than have too long of a draw length, and because then you start like maybe getting yips a little bit because it wants to take off on you a little bit. What I mean? And things like that.
I don't like that. I don't like the yips at all. I like the rock solid back wall. And I feel like when I first started hunting too, all the bows were not long draw bows. They're all super short. So I just learned because I taught myself how to shoot a bow. So I just shot on short draw bows, my whole life when I started archery. So to me, I'm just used to it and I know how to shoot it good. Yeah. And I kind of snap shoot a compound too. Like, I mean, as soon as my pin goes on whatever I'm aiming at, I just let it go. I don't sit there and hold and worried about all this stuff. I mean, right when the pin's on it, I just touch it off. And I don't know, I've always shot like that. Because when you're really low to the ground like I hunt and the deer's that close, you just don't have a lot of time before that deer's going to pick you up when you're up there, So I don't know. Sometimes when they draw, they'll look up, and you just got to let it rip. So I'm just used to shooting really fast.
Well, and it's like, especially it's like if you've been doing it a while, man, like your life as far as your hunting life goes, it's archery is just one of those things where as long as you have something that's a repeatable thing, you can watch guys. That was one thing. And I know we're going to talk about this. I'm just going to make the transition to it now because I know we were talking a little bit traditional stuff today when we were texting. Because I know you're dabbling in the dark arts, so, shall we say?
More of a challenge, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm glutton for punishment.
Yeah, well, it's like when I started that kind of journey, if you will. I talked to some buddies that shoot and try to get some pointers, and I talked to Joel Turner, got some pointers from him and stuff like that. And it, really all came down to, doesn't matter what it looks like. If you can just do it over and over again, right? Like that's the most important thing, is that as long as it's repeatable, and Joel kind of told me that because he said or even when I talked to Bobby Worthington about it, because he was saying, Bobby had shot, on like the world level, he's that good of an archer. And he would say, you have certain things that are like technique that you want to use and like you want to kind of have as a foundation. But, he's like, I have buddies that, that I've either coached or that I've shot with that are world champions. He's like, you can take 3 of them and put them next to each other and their shots look completely different. Right. He's like, but they all are world class. He was like, it's just a matter of they have a process that they go through and an approach that they take that they can do it every single time. Right. Now, what he said is that most people aren't aware enough to be able to replicate it. So they should rely on some like baseline technique stuff. Right.
Yeah.
But, you can have a guy who has a shitty golf swing, but be really good at golf because he can do the same shitty golf swing every time. You know what I mean? It's
That's kind of like how I shoot the compound.
Right.
Instead of tuning me to the bow, I tuned the bow to me, like all my little flaws and stuff that I know I already have. So I tune that. So I think I talked to some big name recurve guys, like Jonathan Moreland, Carl Kasuth, Jared Schaefer, and the list goes on. Even listen to Bobby all the time at shows.
Yep.
And Bobby's almost like, don't be hunting with the recurve.
Oh, I know. Yeah. When I was talking to him about it, because I said something about it. I mean, he's taken plenty of deer with it, right? But I know he's joked before that about hunting with a recurve or a traditional bow. He's like, and he would joke that I'm not good enough to do that. I got to use a compound, but he jokes, but there's some truth to it, right? Where it's, it's a challenge, and there's, and Jonathan, man, that dude, like such a good hunter and just like a good traditional archer. I do enjoy talking to him, and that dude's killing stuff with spears. So enough said.
Oh yeah, man, he's a badass for sure.
yeah, exactly.
And like you said, everybody, all the guys I talk to, they all have different methods, theories. They all do it different. So I'm just gonna pick it up, run with it. If I have an issue, I'll reach out to somebody. And I'm not looking to be a world champion with it. I just want to go, shoot some deer with it. I'll probably start with does first. I don't know if I want to be carrying that around Iowa, honestly. You know what I mean? That's the one time a dream buck's gonna come in and I got a freaking recurve.
Dude, we were texting about that today because we were going back and forth about traditional bows and stuff like that, and just the approach and kind of getting started. And I'd mentioned to you that I probably screwed myself a little bit this year because I had a big deer, whenever I was in the Midwest this year, and I was being stubborn. I was, longbow or break for me this year, and had a hammer and should have killed him, but had him just a couple yards outside of bow range. And I learned my lesson because next year I'm, probably coming to your neck of the woods in Iowa, and awesome. Some buddies of mine, they're not giving me crap, but I've said on the show too, I'll probably use the compound for that only because that's a tag for me that I only get like maybe once every 5 years now. Right.
Oh, yeah, so it's like a $1,200 tag.
Yeah. And I'm going to be there for a while. I'm going to do the same thing I did this year, which is kind of go out and live there for a little while and be there 3-4 weeks, whatever the case is. But, I don't want to play Russian roulette with that tag necessarily because it's so hard for me to get, Yeah. And then some of my buddies are like, dude, just keep using the longbow. Just do it. You can do it. And part of me is like, you're damn right I can. I'm going to use it. So we'll see, man. It's like, I don't know. I got enough time to think about it.
You could carry both. I know guys that carry a bow and a muzzleloader during muzzleloader season. So you could carry a compound and a recurve.
And mine, I take mine apart and put it in my freaking pocket. It's so small, so I could totally do that.
Yeah, and if he's close enough, you can reach up and grab that. And if he's not, then you pick up the compound instead.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But so have you started shooting your traditional bow yet, or have you picked one up, or like where are you at in that process at the moment?
I got the bow already, ordered all the other stuff, so I'm just at the very beginning.
So you got to tune arrows and do all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, I got to do all. That's why I reached out to like a lot of these guys just for advice on that. I got the Black Hunter, man, out Amazon $100 recurve, let it roll.
Yeah. Nice.
I mean, the freaking quiver costs more than the bow, dude. I was like, this is insane right now.
That's funny, man. Well, dude, those it just goes to show you can kill deer with anything.
Oh, yeah.
A buddy of mine, sure. And that was the first year that I was kind of playing around with my buddy Todd. I don't even know where he picked it up. He might have picked it up off Amazon. It was like $100 or $200 bow or something like that. He just picked up. It was probably $100. I don't remember. But he was like, here, take this home with you and just start shooting. And he just handed it to me, and we made an arrow together so he could kind of show me how to tune an arrow and stuff like that. And I shot that the whole first year, just kind of getting used to shooting, a traditional bow before I got my bow. And I was going to hunt. I wasn't sure if I was going to get my bow in time to hunt with it. And so I was preparing to like actually hunt with the bow that he gave me, and it would have killed deer just the same, Yeah,
I mean, a lot of guys I know killed deer, lots of bucks with that Black Hunter bow off Amazon. I mean, it'll do fine. I got a 40 pound. By the time I get to my draw length, it'll probably stack up to like 46.
Like 500 pounds, but your draw length.
And then getting like the tab and all from Jared. He makes some like custom stuff. He has his own little business he does now.
Oh, does he? Nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he makes tabs and some other accessories for traditional hunting.
Shoot, we'll have to get a hold of him then, because I didn't know that. Otherwise, I would have picked my tabs up from him. Damn.
Yeah, he makes awesome stuff. So waiting on that. Once that gets in here, I want to hold. I mean, that'll give me what 8 months before season starts, so I can start shooting to try to get proficient enough with it.
Yeah. Nice.
So I reached out to a lot of guys my size too. there's a couple guys that are about my draw length and height, and I asked them a lot, and they kind of gave me a direction on arrows. So it kind of like fast tracked like my arrow selection, stuff like that. So I don't think it'll be that bad. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
I might be able to not hit a crap with it, but
you never know. You'll be surprised, man. Like I was, at least for me, you know, I was really kind of skeptical. I was kind of where you're at, where I was, you know, my thinking was I may not be able to hit the broadside of a barn. And I was fully prepared for that to be the case and just be able to think to myself, you know what, this just isn't for me. I'm just going to be a guy who can't use this particular weapon for whatever reason. But, you know, oddly, I kind of picked it up. I don't want to say relatively quickly, but I was on target kind of right away and it didn't feel awkward. That was the biggest thing that I was thinking about, was how awkward is this going to feel, like coming from a compound to this. Yeah. And it didn't. What I did do though, just in full transparency, and it's not I don't think I shoot a traditional bow kind of quote unquote correctly, right? I kind of went through the philosophy of what is the sequence I can use to shoot consistently? Because once I can shoot consistently, I'll be okay. And so the biggest thing, because I know a lot of guys when they draw, they'll draw like to their eye, you know, and you know, I shoot 3 under and I shoot instinctive, so I don't use like I'll shoot point on once I get to a certain distance where point on matters, but anything inside of that is all instinctive. I just look at where I want to hit, and that's where that's what I focus on. But when I anchor, I actually anchor the same place I anchor with my compound, because I already know where that's at and that's repeatable for me. So when I, you know, pull it back, I anchor still this part of my thumb on my jawline, and that's where I kind of settle. And that's something I can repeat over and over and over again, and I don't have to really think about, which isn't, like I'm saying, it's not probably technically correct, but it was something I could do over and over again to kind of give me a frame of reference to know that, hey, I'm doing all the stuff, I'm hitting all the same kind of marks. So if I'm off somewhere, then something changed, right? Drastically.
Yeah.
You know? And that was probably the biggest thing for me, was correcting some of the small things, because my anchor was consistent and it was really, you know, you'll notice this, like when you pick it up and you really start shooting, you know, having my riser arm be straight, right, and not letting my elbow kind of bend, or when I'm drawing, letting this elbow drift out, because all of a sudden I would always have I could always tell when I didn't pinch my shoulders together, because my arrow would always drift left. And it's because my arrow, I'm coming out here and my arrow, it's kind of canting everything off to my left. And so that was something I kind of picked up, and you'll pick up on little things. It's really weird where you'll start to pick up on how your shoulders feel when you draw and you're just shooting darts. You're like, oh man. And you'll start to pay attention to like, okay, I can feel where my shoulders this way. And I picked that up from Jared Scheffler, because obviously he's a great traditional shooter. And he talked to me a fair amount about just like, you'll start to feel and pay attention to how your shoulders feel and where your muscles are placed, like as you're shooting. He's like, because once you can kind of get that, and you can repeat that part of it, like where your muscles are, how your muscles are kind of, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I don't want to say tensed, but how they're like where they're at in your body when you draw. It was like, once you're able to repeat that, that's whenever you're going to have a super repeatable shot. Cause that's how he shoots. Like, cause his anchor points are wild. Like he snap shoots with a thumb from like his hip.
Oh yeah.
And so
him do it.
It's wild. And and so it's like, it's all like body mechanics feel for him, because he doesn't have an anchor, you know, so he's anchoring in like muscle groups and stuff like that, which is wild.
Yeah, which is like the weightlifting thing, the mind
the
muscle connection that I don't have. So it'll be interesting on the track.
The mind muscle connection that I proved I don't have today.
my thing is, it needs to be where I don't have to think about it, because it's all fun and games in the backyard, man. But when there's a big deer right by you, dude, all that goes out the window, bro. I ain't going to be thinking about my shoulder blades when I got a big bug down there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me,
exactly.
I'm just going to make it work. It's just like, I thought about trying to use like the nose button on it or something, because I got to figure out the anchor. I'm going to shoot the 3 under 3, you know, the 3 under 2, but the anchor, there's so many people that anchor so many different places. And my I anchor kind of weird with a compound, so I don't think I'll be able to do that with the trad bow, but I mean, I'll figure it out with the either like a nose button or coming to the corner of my mouth or something. I mean, it probably shouldn't be too bad. And I'll probably snap shoot too, or I'm probably not planning on holding it very long. Just go right back and let it go. But I only probably want to shoot 20 yards or less. I mean, most of my compound kills are 10 yards and under because I set up so close, which with the trad bow, I have heard some guys say the back off a little bit, that if you hunt super close just to give yourself a little bit of room, but because if he's right under you and you got to go down with the trad bow,
that's probably the hardest shot.
Harder.
Yeah. Like now I've not experienced this because I haven't let an arrow go out of a tree yet. Now I've hunted with it in a tree and I've hunted with it on the ground, this year at different times. And I did some shooting out of a saddle setup and out of a tree, like prior to the season and stuff like that, and kind of get used to it. And that sharp that's close is harder. Like for me, and even my buddy, East Coast Stickbow, Michael Verde, really good trad shooter too. I asked him one time just what his kind of, his favorite or his preferred yardage was for a shot, with his traditional bow. And he said in that 17, 18, 19 yard range is where he kind of likes them to be, because you don't have to deal with the hard angle and all the limb length, like in your stand or in your saddle or whatever. And it just seems like it's far enough away to where you have a good angle for the shot overall. And for some reason, and I found this even whenever I'm shooting in the yard, like that's actually the distance where my eye and my brain connect and I'm most consistent. Like where that yardage just feels right to my brain, right? Because you'll experience this as you shoot, or at least I did, where like I'll get my left and right, like so I hadn't shot for a little because we had a shit winter here and it's been super cold and we've had a lot of snow.
Yeah, there's crazy.
And we finally, the snow broke and stuff like that, and so I finally got out to the yard this past week and was able to start shooting in the yard again, as opposed to just the bag that I have in my basement that's like 7 yards or whatever that I shoot at, just for shits and giggles. And it was funny. I was shooting at like 12 yards, 10 yards, and I was okay, but like I was a little bit, high, a little bit low, like whatever the case was. And my left and right felt good. And so I was like, all right, let me step back to 18 and just started like shooting lasers. And for whatever reason, you'll find that like there's a spot where your brain and your eye do the math really easily for you, like the trajectory math for you. And you'll notice that your left and right will probably come quick to a degree, and then your up and down will be the thing you'll probably shoot. At least for me, I shoot low consistently, like if I haven't shot for a little while. And then it just takes a little bit for your brain to kind of recalibrate. Then all of a sudden, like the up down comes back. And it's I don't know. It feels like magic because your brain is just doing all that work that your pin and everything is doing for you on a compound, essentially.
Yeah, I've shot some other, like, friends have them and stuff. Mm-hmm. And, I don't even know what I'm doing. I just shoot them for fun. But I was shooting low, like, bad, man. Like, I was like, oh, my God, I'm way low on these. Bad. Or I wouldn't fully extend the draw far enough.
Right.
So, it's just, I don't know. I mean, I think you can do anything. It's just something fun. I like to do new stuff and challenge myself. It's all fun and games to me, man. I just want to try it. That drop shot that we were talking about, Carl Kasuth on that Indiana hunt, the deer camp I went to, man, he shot one like 3 yards, probably less than that. It was right underneath him, and I think he had that black hunter then, and he smoked it right underneath him. Yeah, it was wild. He got on video. It was sick.
Nice. Yeah. That's a tough shot. That's the one I always get worried about, that they're going to creep up on me and I'm going to have that, and I'm just going to not be able to get situated, right, and get my limbs out of the way, or just the string angle is going to mess me up or something like that. But, I'll figure it out, in the heat of the moment. I might just jump off the saddle platform at that point and just hog tie it,
I know a lot of guys went to some really short bows. I think Cody's new bow was like crazy short.
Yeah, mine's short. So so Cody had his, and I was talking to him about it because I wanted to play with a traditional bow, but I'm short. Like I'm 5'9", and I just didn't want. So 10 years ago, I hunted with a recurve, and it was the most miserable season I ever had. Like I committed to using the bow, and I struggled with it in the tree. Like it was just terrible. And that was when I was like, all right, I'm going to put that away. I'm not going to do that. And then when I started kind of talking to Cody and started kind of tinkering with the idea of maybe doing it again, I said, it was one of the early conversations we had about it. And I just said to him, I was like, but I just don't like those long ass bows. Like I'm just not that tall. And he was like, oh, I have this tactical bow that Steve from Bushman made him. And I was like, no way. And so he kind of explained it to me a little bit. And I talked to Steve and I was like, I want like a small tactical bow. And so that's what he made me. It was like a 52-inch tactical bow. So it's a lot shorter. And for me, it doesn't seem super short because I'm not super tall, right?
Yeah.
But it worked well for me. Now the limitation there is like with a short bow like that, you can only have, I think, like up to a 28.5-inch draw for that particular limb length, you know?
Yeah.
So it's limiting in that regard. But yeah, I mean, shorter bow for me works better. Even in compounds, I always preferred shorter bows just because I don't like to have to manage a lot of shit. Put it that way.
Yeah. Plus, I think if you're a tree stand hunter and you shoot sitting down, that shorter bow is way better than having the long bow because then you're gonna hit the platform and all that stuff. Where I think if you're a saddle hunter, the longer bow's not as bad. But if you're sitting down in a tree stand, that shorter bow's way better.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, I'm stoked to see how things play out for you this year. I'm gonna be.
Yeah, it'll probably be a train wreck, but you never know.
Yeah, I expect some text messages of some videos of you shooting.
Yeah, don't be like Rendell. Do not do this. You know what I mean? What not to do. I'll have a book on it, a video series.
Right.
What not to do, man. Just leave it at home.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice,
as long as I get a doe with it, man, I'll be happy. I'm not looking to do nothing crazy, but a doe would be, I think it would give me I think it'd be adrenaline rush, man. I'd be so pumped.
Dude, it was even just having deer approach me this year with that in my hand felt different. In the woods actually just feel different too. As weird as that sounds, I don't know why. It just, you have a different feel when you have that particular weapon in your hand. For one, it's super light. Like I love that. You know what I mean? Like it feels like you're carrying nothing with you. Definitely made me look at setups differently, you know, particularly because I got burned because my setup was great if I was shooting a compound, but I was just, 5 yards off a couple different times, in the right exact spot, You almost have to, one guy was explaining it to me one time and they said it's almost like trapping deer to a degree. You got to not just know where they want to pass through, you have to know where that deer's going to want to put its feet.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That's the biggest difference,
I think that's where like postseason scouting will come in handy, like because you can know the trails and look at the trees ahead of time. I think going in blind with the recurve would be crazy hard, but if you could do some postseason scouting, I think it would be a lot better.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. So because when I went to Kansas, I didn't scout at all. I just showed up, which is kind of like the area that I hunt. The area that I hunt in that area, it's like you can't really postseason scout because it's so open. Like you really have to glass them, find them, and then go hunt them. To a degree, But I will say this: the area where I had the encounters, had I been in there in the postseason, I would have seen. It would have been very obvious to me with a little bit of time to know exactly where I needed to be.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I had the encounter in the one spot, I was like, oh man, I was like, that spot right there over there, that's the spot. That was, and I was looking at it, but.
Oh yeah. I mean, it happens to me all the time too.
Yeah.
Even with the compound, I'll be like, oh man, I should have scouted here. I'd have had this dialed in, so I think postseason scouting it's super critical. I mean, it's almost like I got to.
Yeah. It's funny for me. It serves a different role for me now than it used to, I think. And part of that is convenience because of my job, because I can, work remotely and I can spend more time out. And that was whenever postseason kind of started taking a little bit of a different shape for me, because now, because I can kind of hunt, to a degree, I'll say as much as I want within reason. My postseason scouting now is more just about where are they spending time, right? And what time of year do I think they're spending that time in this area, whatever the sign might be, and make my best kind of judgment on that based on the things that are around it and stuff like that. And because I can spend more time in the fall, I don't do it all the time unless there's a specific deer I want to hunt. If that's the case, then that's when I really use my flexibility and I'll hunt like I did, 2 years ago, where it's like I hunted every day. Right.
Yeah.
And, I'd hunt in the morning, work in the afternoon, and then hunt the evening. So it's like I could kind of keep up with the change of the woods at the time and always feel like I was in the game, right? Whereas in the past, like you were saying, like postseason was way more critical for me previously because I didn't have the luxury to spend Monday through Friday in the woods. I was a weekend warrior. So it's like I kind of had to know going into a season, like this is what's happening. And I have to feel real good about this plan. And I can divert, but man, if my plan's like super wrong, like I'm screwed,
Oh yeah. I mean, it's all situational. And I mean, I'm not like only postseason scout,
Yeah.
I mean, you need to be doing it all in season, out of season, whatever. And like we were talking about earlier today on text, like hunting so many days in a row, like September through January, it is crazy the amount of shifting that happens. Because a lot of people are like, oh, they do 2 or 3 shifts, but man, I think it's more than that. And they're hitting different food sources at different time. And there's like, I've noticed little weeks like, oh, this week they're always on greens off of whatever. And then they transition to this and that, or they're into this. I mean, it's so crazy, all the little details you can pick up by hunting like throughout the whole year, like following the deer. And like I've learned a ton the last couple of years doing that, just oddball stuff that most people wouldn't pick up on or even hunt, like a little odd patterns.
What's the most what's the thing that sticks out to you, like, and kind of thinking of that and it may not even be something big per se, right? But what, getting the opportunity to hunt as much as you have the past couple years, what is something that kind of has stuck with you? And like I said, it doesn't have to be like this monumental seismic thing. It could just be like a small thing where it's like, man, I didn't really realize that this happened this often.
Phew, that's a good question. I've learned so much, dude. I'm trying to narrow it down to one thing.
Because I know for me, the one thing that, and in this particular area that I was hunting, that it seems real obvious now in hindsight, but because I was chasing one specific deer around, I kind of found 2 different habitat types that when they're separate, they're not necessarily as good. One's good, but the other one's kind of dog shit if they're not like connected, if they're not together.
I agree.
But when these 2 particular pieces of habitat come together and they're adjacent to each other, at least in this particular piece, that's where like it's real good. And that's where the mature, like more mature deer want to be. Right. Yeah. And it's funny because I'm not mentioning what those habitats are because I don't want to give away any of my.
Oh, I was about to. I was about to tell you what they were.
Right. It might be different where you're at, or I know you hunt some other areas like in PA, so you might have similar experience, because I was actually talking with Bo about this. We both were buddies with Bo Martonic. And so this is in a big wood setting. And so I was messaging him. I was like, hey man, because he messaged me that season. He was like, hey, how's that hunt going? And I just said, oh, like I feel like I'm on him, but it's like I'm just like a day behind, it feels like. And I said, I feel like this is what's happening with these 2 pieces of habitat. And when and he was like, dude, he was like, we both kind of said, he was like, it's something that I've learned too, and I've been hesitant to kind of say anything about for obvious reasons, right? And I was like, okay, I was like, so I'm not crazy. I was like, because I've seen this a couple times like in person, but I was like, but I've also picked it up on trail camera consistently. I was like, and I just wasn't sure it was like a real thing or if I'm just experiencing an anomaly. He's like, no. He's like, I see the same thing. So that's one thing for me hunting day in and day out, was like I was able to kind of pick up on a habitat nuance that I never had seen before, but in hindsight seems real obvious. And probably it wasn't earth shattering necessarily, but it's just like, I now recognize it.
Yeah, there's one out here, Kansas, Iowa, whatever. I've noticed there's a few micro ones that I've picked up on. And then I have hunted Pennsylvania, scouted up there, and I noticed totally different, but I've noticed some little nuances up there too. And there were some things that I brought from the Midwest that I use out here that a lot of guys told me it wouldn't work in Pennsylvania, but it did. Like instantly, I was just on the deer and I was like, dang it, I should have done this sooner, because it was like towards the end of my hunt, Right. So I was like, dog, I could have been on these deer the whole time, but I was just like, oh, this is how you got to hunt PA and this is how you do it. And then I was like, all right, screw this. I'm going to do what I do. And then bam, it was like instantly went off and I was like, God dang it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I think the more I've traveled in hunted different states and stuff like that, what I've started, or I guess what I've realized over the years is I'm better off kind of starting to a degree with what I know and kind of and go from there until it doesn't work anymore. Like my buddy Chad and I have talked about that, where because what ends up happening, especially when you're out of state, you're hunting a place you're not familiar with, you rely kind of on your A game, or like parts of like your A game that could work in that area, right? And then what happens a lot of times is that you might go through your A game and B game and C game really quickly, where it's like the things that you're best at didn't work. And then you're going, all right, what's my D plan? Right. Well, that's when it gets real fun, because now you're just making it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you usually, even if your A, B, and C approach doesn't work, you usually pick up enough information doing that to where when you get to like, all right, I got to just freestyle it now, you have some pretty good intel to start to freestyle with,
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, I think, I think that was a great point where, if you just would have trusted what you know and what you do, right? It may not have been how you killed the deer, but you would have been on them a lot quicker and been able to adapt from there, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I spent the last couple of years, which I knew I'd probably get my butt kicked most places, but I hunted so many new states, so many new terrains, like just because I wanted to expand, kind of be like, jack of all trades kind of hunter, just be a better overall woodsman. And I knew like this is going to be, I'm probably going to fail at this, you know what I mean? And
Right.
I was in the chips about every state except for one. One state just totally destroyed me, but I learned a lot from that.
What state was that?
Wisconsin, man. Good God Almighty. that was not fun, dude. Tamarack swamps, dude. Oh my gosh. Cattail marsh stuff. It was, I don't even know if it was just the pressure, finding deer. I mean, you just walk and all of a sudden you'd be like up to your chest in mud. I mean, it was just one of those really grinder hunts. It gave me a new respect for those guys up there that do that kind of hunting.
Right.
But what I learned a lot there and brought it back to states I hunt often, and that gave me like little micro patterns that I pick up on. And I found that nobody else really does that in these other states that I hunt, especially Iowa. And I've been finding a lot of good bucks doing that, because they're not really pressured as much.
Yeah.
Or there's pressure on the property, but the pressure's not isolated to where these little micro terrains are at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I found that really interesting.
Yeah, I think.
So yeah, I mean, you just got to hunt your hunt, I think, and grow experiences. And I mean, you can listen to podcasts and other people, but just going out there and actually doing it and not being afraid to fail. And I mean, if you're learning, you're never truly failing. I mean, knowledge is power. So
yeah. And
I still want to hunt like new terrain. I'm going to go hunt new states this year. Just to try it out. So
yeah, I definitely, there's definitely value in going to some places like Wisconsin, like you went to, where it's like, I mean, they have great hunting. They got good bucks. I mean, people kill great deer out of there all the time, but it is a little different, right? Because there is pressure, that's different, than say Iowa, for example, and the terrain is definitely different, and so there's little kind of, at least when I come to Iowa and I scout, so I've been looking at maps a lot lately because I'm getting ready to come out here. What's today's date? Today's like March 4th.
Yeah. That's correct.
Yeah. I'll be out in your neck of the woods, I think around like the 13th or 14th or 12th or 13th, something like that. And I'll be there for about a week to scout and shed hunt. And
I should be good to meet up with you for like 3 days, I think.
All right, cool. Yeah, because I'm gonna do it over a weekend where I'm gonna scout over the weekend, probably take that Monday after off. I think that's the 16th, if I'm not mistaken. And then I'm going to work the rest of the week and just scout in the evenings, after I get done with work, because of the time change, we'll have a little bit more light and stuff too. And then also, I work on Eastern time and you're Central, so I'll get an hour there as well. So it's like I'll be able to jump out after work and, get a little bit of boots on the ground in the evenings. But I've been kind of looking at, doing my map study, and I'm going to kind of go back to an area that I've hunted in the past, but been kind of looking at some different areas. I have a buddy out who lives in that general area too. And, I've been kind of talking, and just like the one thing I notice is like a lot of the spots I look at, and it's just like when you hunt different places, like you have to have a different like frame of reference. And so I'm looking at places, I'm dropping pins, and I'm looking at spots that are just like, hard to get to, like long hike and things like that, right? And my buddy's like texting with him. He's like, "Hey, did you think about this spot at all?" And I'm looking at it, and like the access isn't that hard. And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I've hunted this in the past." He's like, "Man, some giants in there." And you know what I mean? And I'm going like 2 miles this way. I'm going to bushwhack my way in. He's like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "Here's like a 175-inch deer that I killed right off this hiking trail." You know?
Yeah. Don't get mad, but the last couple of years I've noticed I'm giving it up, but the deer have been way closer to the road, man. I haven't had to go like super crazy deep to go find deer. I think I think they actually got pushed out towards like the outer edges. And then now guys this year, after they hear this podcast, they're all going to go shallow. It's going to push all the deer deep, you know?
Yeah. No, I definitely think there's something to that, because I think, you know, people have access to like their maps and stuff like that, regardless, like Spartan Forge or whatever they're using. Right. And it just gives them a level of confidence to go back, and they kind of know what to expect when they get into those areas and stuff like that. And so they're more willing to go. And, you know, standard logic would say, you know, older deer want to be left alone. How they get left alone, they go further away from things, right? Generally speaking, yeah, but really what they want is seclusion, right? And they want cover, you know, and they want their needs met to the best of their ability while being undisturbed, right? So wherever that is, that's where they're gonna be, you know, whether it's close to the road or whether it's, you know, whatever. And I would say close to the road oftentimes, or parking lot or whatever, is often the quietest spot, because who wants to go sit and look at the parking lot all day? You know what I mean? Like,
and I've actually, just from my experience here, farmland deer, flatter terrain deer, I think, man, they're using their eyes way more than what people think. Like, they're watching so much access and things going on. They'll have like jam up bedding, but they'll be in spots you would never expect. And it's usually they're watching something. Like the buck that I shot this fall, he was watching a little levee road where it dumps out into his side. Like, you got to come across this levee and it dumps out. And he was I got in his bed and looked out, and he was watching the end of that road the whole time. Like, so it's just things like that in farm country to look for. Like, it might not be the super obvious spot, but he'll be able to see you, and they'll have like the wind over his back. So he kind of got the double advantage there. And it could be like a little fence row. I mean, there won't be nothing there, and he'll be tucked in there just watching, because he can get out quick, because he'll see you coming from further away out here in this opener country, kind of like even Kansas and stuff. But to circle back on your question, you asked me the one thing I kind of noticed more, and I was always a big proponent of long lining. It's just where the buck's bedded farther away from the food. But I've actually noticed that it's way further than what I thought. I mean, it'll go a couple miles sometimes. And then, so for me, if I can postseason scout, I focus more on like beds. And if you can't postseason scout, you know what I mean? You're kind of out of that window to go find them. So then I focus more on like instinct on where I think the bedding, just general bedding, would be. And then I try to place myself closer to that, but in between like long lines of movement. And if I run cameras, I kind of got my cameras set up on scrapes on really long lines of movements. And guys will come by and like, they'll look at my camera and they'll just shake their head like, what the heck is this random mock scrape out in the middle of nowhere doing? But I'm monitoring the long range movement of the buck to food, because he'll go find the best bedding and then move at night 2 miles easy. I mean, that's not very hard for a mature deer just to move 2 miles. And then he'll feed, and then he'll go back. And then that keyed me in on different properties where, well, the food's not here and a lot of guys don't mess with it, but I'll key in on like the bedding, you know. I'm like, all right, he's still going to be here because he's got standing corn, you know, a mile away. So I think there's a good chance that there's going to be a buck in here.
Right. Yeah. I think they move a lot further. I agree with you. They move a lot further than we want to think that they do, especially on that bed to food pattern. And I think a lot of people think that they bed relatively close. Like I've always so this is a great example. It happened again this year, and I ended up losing this buck. Like I have no clue where he went. And it was funny because I guess it was maybe 3 years ago, 3 seasons ago, potentially. I had glassed, at that time, it was probably the biggest deer I'd ever seen in PA. He was like 160-inch deer roughly. And I don't have much food around me, and this was local to me, so this wasn't in the mountain. This wasn't in the big woods in the north. And there's one particular area, like there's some farm country around, but like typically the public that I hunt, or the public pieces in general, don't have farmland adjacent to it. There's might be farmland a mile away, 2 miles away, but it's never adjacent, right? So there's not a lot of great like summer glassing spots. I got a handful of spots I can kind of go look. And those deer may or may not be on the public, but it's just close enough to where it's like they might spend time on the public early in the season where I might get a crack at them, right? Where, because my season comes in middle of September for me locally, right? So it's like so if they're on a bed to food pattern and maybe they're bedding on the public and traveling to this food, it's like I might get a crack at them like the first week, maybe 2, but then after that, like they're probably gone if they're shifting,
Yeah.
And so I always monitor this one area. And usually this year it was corn. The year that I glassed this big deer, it was beans, which was perfect. And I made a guess where I was like, man, the way this stuff lays out and the way the bedding would be, like the first section of best bedding, because there's houses all around too. So it's not there's a fence row here and a fence row here and like some properties. And then finally you get to the public. And I was like, man, the best bedding closest to that is, X marks the spot. And I'm thinking to myself, that's going to be where the does and the fawns are bedding, right? They're going to take the bedding that's closest to the food. So where's the next best bedding for this buck, right? And I'm looking and I'm like, his next best bedding is on the public. I was like, or this little lot where this piece of private meets the edge, this particular edge of the public. I was like, hey, he's probably right there. So my senses told me to stay out of there until the beginning of the season and just go in. I mean, I'd been in that area before, so I knew what it looked like, but I didn't see any sign or anything in there, and I kind of knew where I maybe needed to be. And I was like, I should just wait till the opener, and I should just go in there blind and hang a set in the evening and try to kill him. Well, my ambition got the better of me, and I was like, let me go just see if I can find like a track, a rub, or something that tells me like what area of that section he's in. I walked in there and I ended up kicking him along with the 2 other bucks that he was bachelored up with out of their bed. Right.
Yeah.
Never saw him again. Right.
Yeah.
That was like the week before the season opened and never saw him again. So fast forward to this year. And this is to prove the long line kind of thing, right? Where same thing, only it was corn this year. And I caught this buck super early before they planted this corn late and it was short and I could see him and glassed him. And like, I could see, enough bone on him in velvet where I was like, that's a good buck for PA. He was probably like 140 inches maybe, right? Whenever he was fully grown. And I made a guess. I was like, you know what? I was like, I bet he's bedded in that same spot. Now I caught him in like July or something like that, or late June. And so I went in and dropped the camera in that spot. And sure as shit, the next day I had him on camera. I watched him all summer long. Right. And then as soon as you could hunt, he was gone. Yeah. That was it. Like he disappeared like the week before the season opened and I never saw him again. But just to your point where where he was bedded was about, call it a mile and a half as the crow flies from where he was feeding or from where I was catching him feeding. Right. And who knows how far he walked to actually get there. Cause he didn't walk a straight line.
Oh yeah.
Right. So call it 2+ miles from where he was bedded to where he was going to feed. Right. So yeah, those deer are not necessarily on top of the food sources they want to use.
Oh no. And I have noticed that too. They leave quick. Like those little spots like that, I get crazy aggressive and you better be like pinpoint accurate because they're not going to be there long. So I figure most of them hold on until about almost the rut. And then right when the rut hits, I lose most of those deer out of those places like that. They're going to where the majority of the does are, which is probably usually private or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not about food anymore. So you lose that pattern.
Yeah.
The one I got this year was like 3rd week of October, like just right on that edge before they start kind of breaking loose.
Nice.
So
how did that hunt play out?
Well, I did some glassing in the summer and I glassed 2 big bucks in there. So, and then and there's nothing there. Like I thought I was dumb for even hunting this place. Even I'm like, man, I'm crazy, but I don't know about this, you know?
Right.
So I glassed them. I seen them. They was on beans. And I was just kind of like, oh, man. You know, beans. October 1st opener, man. If you got beans here, the deer are usually gone by then. But
Yeah.
there was some corn on the property too. So I was like, all right, I'll probably be good until they combine that. And then there was some corn, like, I don't know, half a mile away probably. And then there was some other corn even further than that. But, and there's like it's not big, dude. It's like a little tiny woodlot that buffs up to like an inland marsh. And there's like an island of trees, like just on the edge of the marsh. And you got to go down this levee road. And I mean, it's wide open country. I mean, it's pretty tough to me to get in there. I was like, man, it's going to be hard to access this. So I did the glassing, knew he was in there, stayed out. Like you said, you know, that's the big key of these little spots. Don't go in there and doing a lot of stuff. I kind of, when I was glassing, I kind of looked at trees, some like the treetops, just kind of get a view. I was like actually glassing the trees with the big spot and scope, you know, trying to pick a tree. But I really didn't know the bedding because I didn't get the postseason scout there. So once I got done with show season, I jumped right in there and I put a mock scrape in and put some scent on that, put a camera on there. And he's like the first buck I picked up in there, just bam. And then didn't really know what the bedding was though. So I kind of like, I was just analyzing the data. You know, I get a picture of him. What time of day was it? Morning, afternoon? How close to dark? Or, you know, how close to sunrise was it? How, you know, so I can kind of gauge how far away he's bedded. And then just watching wind directions. And I kind of noticed like, if he was on camera, it was always like on a south wind, which is the worst wind to hunt there. So I was like, oh man. And then I decided to get aggressive. You know, it was getting probably right out of the gate, October, first week of October, right when season opened. I was like, I got a different wind, a north wind, because that's better for me in this spot. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to try to Houdini him. I'm going to go through the standing corn that's still in there. But dude, it was windy, right? But when I got down in there, the wind kind of died out, and I sounded like an elephant, man, just tromping through that corn, bro. You know, the saddlebags are hanging up on the stalks because I'm wide, you know, so the pouches are hanging up, my bow's hanging up. Every step you take, you're just like, oh man, agonizingly slow. And I'm like, dude, this deer ain't showing up. I was so loud. And then the tree that I glassed that I thought I could get in ended up being like a cottonwood, man, like a John Eberhart special, dude, 30 foot around. Had like 30 trunks on the thing. I tried for 2 hours to set up in this tree, man. And then I finally got it, but it was awful setup. But nothing ever showed up, right? So I was like, all right, well, he heard me, you know. All right, I'm not doing this again. I got right out. I just beelined it right back through the corn. I had minimum scent trail because I set up right outside of the corn. So right when I popped out of the corn, went right up. There's kind of like a ditch in there that runs to that little inland marsh. So I was like, all right, my scent signature is not that bad there, but I need more data. So I knew, you know, I don't want to press it. I don't want to hunt over and over again. So I backed out, just kind of waited. And he showed up on camera a couple more times, but just different directions. I'm like, dang, what the heck, man? So I decided to do, and I'm hunting other deer too, you know, I'm bouncing all over, but I was like, I'm going to go glass. I'm going to glass this deer again to see if I can get a line of direction on him. And this is, you know, probably like, I don't know, a week and a half later. Beans gone. I mean, it combined quick here this year. It was so dry, you know. We came out of a drought, but it just seemed like the crops were drying out quicker. So people were really getting it out. The farmers were on it. Boom, beans came out. And then that cornfield that I seen that I told you was like mile away. I caught last light, I caught 2 bucks headed towards that. I just happened to swing over and I seen like the outlines of them, you know, at last light. And it was because I was more watching like the woodlot, the inland marsh woodlot thing. But you can't see that good where I was set up. But I just noticed that I was like, man, they came a long way. Like, because it's that what they were following was like just an old like tree line. And I was like, man, they made it pretty quick. I mean, they were getting it. And they were headed to that standing corn out there. And then I was like, all right, were they in the marsh because of that ditch? What I think they did was they were in the ditch and they went out, then they popped up. So I couldn't tell where they actually came from. So I'm like, did they come out of that standing corn I went through? Did they come out of the marsh or the woodlot? You know, I wasn't sure. And then there was adjacent to that, there's like a bunch of like tall grass area, like overgrown, old, you know. Or I was like, man, maybe it came out of that, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm like, there's too many betting options for me to want to just dive in on this deer. So I glassed again. Nothing that time, didn't see him. And then I moved around that time to kind of hit the woodlot. He didn't come out of there, but in the morning he showed back up on the camera. So I'm like, all right, well, he didn't come out the way I was glassing that second time. And I was like, I'm going to wait. And then boom, that like a week half later, took out all the corn. There's nothing left but like the marsh and that little woodlot. And then he hit that scrape from the south, and there's nothing there. It's just that old cornfield from the south. And then the light, and then, you know, the marsh grass is kind of dying off too. It's getting older in the season. It's dying off. And I felt like the does were stacked into that. Like we talked about the does bed really close. Yep. So I'm like, all right, I assume the does are in that. And then the light bulb went off. I'm like, he's in that little damn woodlot. Like, that's why I didn't see him, because I walked by the woodlot when I was going through the corn. And I was like, all right. And then it made sense because that woodlot kind of watches that little levee road, because the marsh kind of gets super close to that levee, but the woodlot's kind of off away. So I'm like, all right, if he was in that woodlot, he could see you come in there. And he's going that way to that other corn because he can visually see nobody entered, so he can go that he would just get up and go, I bet, in my mind, you know, at the time. So that little island I told you about was key, and then the levee road I thought about was key too. So this is the two key things I thought I made right here was just noticing that there's no bedding but the little marsh or the woodlot, and I figured the marsh probably wouldn't be in there because it was just getting short. They just combined that. I was like, man, he's got to be in that woodlot, I think. And he was on the camera like right in daylight. So I mean, I'm in there. Like, we're in the chips now, boys, you know?
Right.
So I go in and I walk in like everybody else would. I mean, I'm in the wide open, dude, just bebopping down there. Like, I'm like, this deer's gotta see my big ass, you know, just bebopping down through here. But when I got to the inland marsh, I dove off the road into the marsh, and it was super windy, had a north wind, because I figured south windy's on the camera, but never a north wind. So I was like, all right, I bet you on the north wind he's going to the corn before he goes to that camera, because I'm coming in the opposite way of the camera. So I get into the marsh. It's windy as hell. I'm taking my time, just easing through. And that island, I notice, is the key, because it sets like 100 yards away from the woodlot, but there's a ton of trees and it's really thick, and it was still early enough. It was all green leaves. So I went through that little marsh. I got onto that little island, and I mean, just crept. And I did glass a tree. But when I got to it, I thought it was straight, dude, but it was like this, bro. I'm like, there ain't no way, man. There ain't no way I'm doing that. Because I've done it before, dude, and it'll smoke you out in a saddle. Like, just the angle like that, dude, it'll destroy you. So I was like, all right. So I kept going through, and I noticed like a whole cluster of trees, and it was like a cave of green leaves, but there was like a little opening in it. And I was like, dude, that'd be perfect for me to just stand right up in that. So I got to I picked a tree a little further back on the island, got set up. Dude, I hit my head on the freaking platform, bro, after I set it up. And I'm just standing there. So I'm like, you know, 6'7", 6'8" off the ground with the platform, you know.
All right.
Climb up. Never been in this tree in my life, you know, just hanging and banging. And got set up. And I set up a little differently. I always set up for like the passing shot. So a lot of guys will turn and they'll get behind the tree, so they have to swing out.
Mm-hmm.
But I hunt so low, I don't want to be swinging around the tree to make a shot. So the tree's like blocking you from the deer until the deer gets up by you, and then you're just out in the open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was set up just like that, had the bow ready, and man, I just seen him stand up. And I just seen the rack come up. I'm like, oh man, I'm like, oh, he's in a bed, you know? I mean, dude, I was like, oh man, he was bedded right freaking there. His bed was only like 10 yards into that woodlot off that levee. There's like the levee road. You go across the little levee road bridge and then it swings around. And he was just like 10 yards off that road, just sitting in there watching that road. But he got right up, seen him. He came out. There was another scrape. I didn't even know it was there. He just worked that for like 2 seconds. And then on my camera, by the time he was there to the 100 yards to me, it was like not even 8 seconds, dude.
Wow.
Just power, they just
power walking.
They got so much confidence that nobody's there. There's no danger. They've been watching it all day. Not a care in the world, man. This deer came out just power walking because he's covering that long range ground,
Mm-hmm.
And then, dude, he came right by, and there was like, I had a window. There was a tree, and I almost played it too tight, man, because he was getting to the tree. I drew, and last second, I was like, man, I hit him with the mat, and he just looked over me, and I let it go. Like 25-yard shot, crushed him, dude. Those mega meats, man, they put a whooping on those deer.
Nice.
Shot through both of his front legs. He kind of dropped, did the bulldozer thing, and then he looped around me and went back into the marsh. And then he just stopped, and I just seen him like walk off into the marsh. And then I got a little nervous, if you don't see him drop, you're kind of like,
yeah.
And it happened really quick because I shoot really fast. I was like, I sounded good, felt good. I was like, man, I think I hit him good, but you just never know.
You never know. You're always nervous after the shot. Yeah.
So I was just like, just quietly, just waiting, didn't hear anything. So I was like, oh, I'm going to back out and look at the tape, because I filmed it.
Nice.
Backed out. And of course, dude, the one freaking branch, right when I stopped him, he got behind that branch and it blocked the camera. So all I could see was his legs. And I'm like, dude, I'm the worst filmer ever, man.
Right.
I was like, why, dude? If I would have stopped him sooner, I would have been good. I had it perfect. But watching the video footage, I could hear it. I seen him drop. Yeah. I kind of seen where the lighted knock was flying out. I was like, all right, he should be down. I gave him, probably 6-7 hours. I normally do that anyways. And I went in and he was, I don't know, he wasn't too far past where I seen him disappear into the marsh. So just making those little key adjustments, like just thinking differently, doing something different, kind of.
Well, the other thing is too was watching, man, like getting that visual. Like that was, to me, that was one of my big learnings of going out and hunting in the plains as often as I have, is how key a visual is. Like, I feel like you should almost work the beginning of the hunt to try to get a visual. Because I think once you get that visual, it takes a lot of your guesswork away, because you see now what like, at least he did this thing one time, right? And I know so chances of him doing it again are probably pretty good, as long as you're not like in the rut potentially, right? But yeah, dude, that's the one thing, like, as I'm listening to like this whole thing play out, to me, it was the glassing, and then which better informed you how to play the position that he was in.
Yeah. And then, guys will argue, the technology, the camera, but it was only like a small bit of, what I mean? You're still collecting data all different ways. It's not like just the camera.
Well, yeah, it wasn't
all gadgets are at your disposal. You can use a method. And actually the scrapes, I use them more for inventory, man. Like, I just like to know what's around.
Yeah.
I usually don't hunt the actual scrape I make.
Yeah.
I just kind of like, watch the wind data, what if there's any bucks there I want to chase. You get historical data on them.
Yeah.
It's not like, and plus too, I was getting pictures, but I wasn't running right in there and hunting. I was staying out. I wasn't being aggressive. I was just kind of calculating it, trying to figure out like all the other pieces and using that with the glassing. And the summer scouting, teed me off on them in the first place, because I normally would never even hang a camera in a place like that, really.
Right.
And then the mock scrape can help you or hurt you. There was a couple deer that didn't, I don't know, that I felt like they knew I was there and I just didn't jive with them. You know what I mean? Where he kind of stayed in there.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, when I was in his bed too, that tree I set up in was the last tree he couldn't see. If I would have went any further, he would have seen me. Because it was kind of in line with that levee road where he was watching that little bridge go, whatever you want to call it, bridge pass, I don't know, tractor trail, whatever the heck you want to call those things.
Right. That just goes to show like how much like luck always plays a role in a lot of this, right? Because like you said, you go one tree further and he
probably had me for sure.
Yeah, he probably sees you, and you stopped at that particular tree, and that's honestly probably why you ended up killing it, was the tree. I mean, all the other work that you did, but like the last part of that was the right tree. I
felt like even if I would have turned and went up the backside of the tree and side profiled myself, he would have seen me. But the way I set up, I had the tree kind of blocking him from seeing me the whole time, and I just kind of scurried. Because a lot of the times the problem is you have to offset the sticks from the platform because the platform hits you in the head, Yeah. But I started just keeping it folded up. I tighten it up so it doesn't drop as easy. And I'll go up and then I'll sling my tether around and then I'll like pull myself up and then drop the platform as I'm stepping up so I can actually go over it easier. I mean, if you're one stick, sometimes I'll even one stick just because some of the spots you got to be on where your sticks are at, and it's really hard to like get on the platform sometimes quietly. So sometimes one sticking can be a little better, but I'm not traditionally one sticking where you're like climbing the tree. I'm just setting it right off the ground and then climbing right up onto it. So I don't have to make any moves,
Yeah. Yeah. Nice, man. So where did you go after that? Like where else did you hunt this year?
I went to Kansas, got my ass kicked for a month, dude. It was brutal.
You and I were texting during that. Yeah. So dude, it's funny because you said how it says you were saying how they pulled all the crops out pretty quick in Iowa. It was the opposite, at least for me, where I was at in Kansas, because it was super wet and there were crops there longer than I'd ever seen crops.
I couldn't really find that many crops where I was at. I was just east of where you're at, dude, and they only planted like cover crops like rye and stuff. But I did run into a lot of what you did, like losing permission, dude. I had four booners I was on, dude, and I lost 3 of them because, someone's grandson or, someone's family, there's a dispute on who can be there, who can't, blah, blah, blah. And then my last buck I had that I slept in the tree for 3 days twice on, freaking, he moved 2 miles to one of the places where the other buck was that I lost permission on. I was like, you're kidding me, man. And then by that time, I just started jumping around public land and I was power rattling and doing all this crazy like turkey hunting strategies.
Yeah.
And dude, I was running into people left and right, or people had cows. Dude, I ran into so many freaking cows on public land, dude, which I don't know, you can deal with it or not deal with it, but sometimes the deer would stay there.
Yeah.
But I just didn't want to deal with it, man. I was like, you get in there and these cows roll up on you, dude, like 30 cows deep, and you're just like, man, I don't know about this, dude. You don't know if there's a bull in there.
Yeah.
Or you come out in the dark, you come out in the dark and there's all
dude, they will
cows.
scare the living shit out of you when you roll out in the dark. You don't know that they're there, and like what you creep up around a corner and boom, all of a sudden there's like 20 cows. You're like, whoa, where'd you come from?
So I got sidetracked here. I got a story for you real quick. When I first started hunting Iowa, a guy gave me permission. One of the first permission pieces I ever got in Iowa. Some hole in the wall, dude. Nobody else would want to hunt it. So I think that's how I got it, because it wasn't very good. But it was just like trash ground, all growed up, nasty. But he had a cattle pasture in there, right? So I was hunting one evening and I didn't even know the cows were in there, dude. And I jumped the fence to leave because it was quicker, And I don't know what happened, but dude, there must have been like 40 cows in there, man. It freaked them out that I was in there. They must have seen me or something in the dark. And they came after me, bro. Like 40 of them, dude, just bearing down on me. Dude, I took off running, bro. I got my bow, all the crap, man. I'm sprinting, which ain't very fast probably anymore, but dude, I'm getting it. And they're closer and closer, and the ground, dude, like the ground's like levitating me underneath, and it's like shaking. Like, dude, I know it. I'm just waiting to get hooked, my butthole's puckering, dude. I'm going. And then I seen the barbed wire fence, dude, and it was kind of tall. And you get that, oh man, I'm a dude syndrome, I'm clearing that, baby. Yeah, I'm the long jumping Olympic king. Dude, I tried to jump and the first strand hit my thighs, dude, and it flipped me. I did a total flip, had my bow like Statue of Liberty, because I'm like, my bow! Landed on my face, rolled down, crap went everywhere, dude. The platform like cut me up. But I saved my bow, though. My bibs were all ripped to hell, on the barbed wire, dude. And I was like, I'm never hunting around cows again. So when I was in Kansas, it's all barbed wire, too. I was like, hell no.
Yeah.
This is a hard pass for me, buddy. I was like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that barbed wire will mess you up, dude. Like I got hung up on one this year. Not the same way. And I wasn't running from cows, but it was the dark, and I was trying to get in, and there were two sections of barbed wire. There was like the first fence, and then right after it, for whatever reason, there was like a second fence right next to it, and I didn't see the second one, and so I went to get over the first one and got hung up on the second one. It was miserable, right? So it's like I'm at first I'm trying not to rip anything. I'm like trying to get my clothes unattached. But while I'm doing that, I'm getting hung up on the first one that I just cleared. It was a disaster. I ended up just having to rip my stuff and like get out of there.
I got a tip for you on this. Don't climb it, go underneath. And I carry these heavy duty zip ties or twist ties, and I'll pull the bottom up and I'll twist
such
tie
a good
it.
idea.
Or I'll zip tie it to the next strand up and I slide right underneath. And when I come back out, I just pop it off or cut it.
Yeah,
so
that's such a good idea.
Yeah,
because I usually,
man.
Because I usually carry night eyes, like gear ties or something. Like I always have like a couple of those.
Yeah,
with
it'll
me.
hold it. It's perfect.
I should have. That's such a good idea because I'm short, and like a lot of the place I was hunting was like, it would be like Kansas is pretty flat, but you would be in a pasture somewhere, and it would always be like the place where you'd want to cross would be where I'm high on this side.
Yeah.
And the ground goes this way and the fence is here and I'm low on the other side. So it's like I'm not tall enough. So it's like I'm like trying to straddle it and it's catching on my crotch. And I'm trying not to.
Man. Zip ties are the night eyes, baby. It'll get you in there, man. I take everything off my pack. I slide it under my bow and I'll just get on my stomach or my back and I'll just swoop right under. Works great.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going to be doing that. So, man, so you got your tail kicked in Kansas. When you think back to this season, like, what is there a lesson for you that you'll take with you, like something that you learned this year that was not just applicable to this year, but would be applicable for you just kind of going forward as a lesson?
Man, I think the old additive of don't rely on private land, man. You know what I mean? Because, dude, a lot of times it was like middle of season when I was losing permission because they would see the buck and you got to scramble. I did a lot of public land scouting, but I wasn't dialed in on it.
Right.
Being prepared more, like, man, just if you got a day, just drive out, man, and run around and try to get an idea because I shifted some new areas. And you're not always going to win, dude. Hunting new terrains and new stuff like that. You're probably not gonna get it done doing what I'm doing because I'm doing everything A to Z myself. Like I'm finding my own deer, I'm showing up, doing all my own scouting, like old school, man, just doing everything bare bones myself. It's a lot to drive around all these states, but don't be intimidated either, man. I don't know, sometimes it's
just go out and have fun. You know what I mean?
Don't worry about it, man. I mean, you're out there, hunt for yourself. Don't worry about what other people say. Have fun. If you're not having fun, why be there?
Yep.
Sometimes it just comes down to you should have zigged when you zagged, or you should have did the opposite, and it's just not in it. Or don't pass up deer, man.
Oh,
sometimes you're not going to get the big one, you know what I mean? Because there was some good
dude.
deer that I passed, bro. I was like, I should have shot that deer. You know, you're 3 days in and you passed the deer, or maybe even further. Sometimes I was like 2 weeks and I passed the deer because I was so hard-headed on that giant buck. And then, you know, I never got an opportunity on the giant buck, but oh man, that 140 came by me and I just let him go. Like, that was dumb. Like, should have just had fun.
Preach, man. That was I made my bed and I'll lay in it, you know, because I was chasing that big one this year with the longbow, and after I had seen him one time. I had two. Wait, was it the second one? I can't remember if it was after the first encounter or the second encounter I had with that deer. No, actually, it was after the third encounter I had with that deer. It was in the same evening. I had a 130-inch, beautiful 130-inch deer come through and stop broadside at 15 yards. And I actually drew on it, was drawn back, and I'm watching him. And I just was like, no, I know I'm on that big one. I was like, I'm gonna kill him. And then the next day, I lost permission.
Yeah.
It's like, and I should have just,
dude, it sucks.
I should have just killed that deer, you know, for a bunch of different reasons.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
for no other reason than it's my first year with a longbow and killing a 130-inch deer off the ground at 15 yards in a ghillie jack with a longbow.
Sick, bro. I would have lost my mind, dude. I'd have been jumping around like crazy, bro.
Yeah, exactly. I still kick myself for it. It's probably like, you know, we all make mistakes hunting every year, right? Every hunt, I would say. And most of them don't bother me because it's like you make the best decisions you can with the information that you have. And, you know, the hunts, that's why they call it hunting. You know, it's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
And so I usually don't get too broke up over it. That one I do, because that one was just pride and ego that got in the way. And that was, in hindsight, I look back and I think to myself, I would have been ecstatic to shoot that deer with a longbow. I would have been ecstatic to shoot that deer in general on a travel hunt, on a piece that I don't know anything about, that I'm just showing up and trying to get it done, you know, and then add a longbow onto it. Like, how it doesn't get better than that. And I thought I thought I was better than that, and I'm not, you know. That was my lesson.
I probably think I know I suck, but sometimes I think I'm better than that. You know what I mean?
Well, dude, you got to, man. Like, you got to fake it till you make it sometimes. You know what I mean?
Like, man. And then what I was going to say is, like, sometimes you got to eat a pizza one slice at a time. So maybe hitting that 130 first and getting it under your belt, and then just upping the game a little bit, getting more confidence. But on the other hand, if you shoot the 130, you're not shooting a booner or whatever you're after. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, there's two ways to look at it. It was like you stayed true to yourself, your goals, your discipline.
I stayed true to my goal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But at the same time, it sucked because you passed the 130 and got kicked out and then you were done. I mean, like, I don't know. So sometimes sticking to your guns is not always the best thing. Sometimes it's eating one slice at a time. I mean, I've done it. That Indiana hunt, I did the same thing, dude. Indiana hunt, never been there before, scouted half a day, seen something on that Spartan Forge, ran right there. There was corn, went to the back. Dude called it, man. I mean, buck comes right out of bedding, dude. Comes up. The buck's like 10 yards, man. I'm full draw on him. And I was just like, man, I just want something bigger. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last day I found the big one, but dude, he totally destroyed me, bro. Lit me up, man. I made a couple of errors on the big one, you know. But so it's like if I would have shot that buck, dude, I would have been over the moon, man. Thinking back on it, you know, out of state, never been there before. Just show up first day, and dude, and just look at the freaking Spartan Forge app, and boom, I'm in there, man. And
it don't get
there.
It don't get cleaner than that.
Yeah,
you know?
and then you second guess it, man. And I'm at full draw, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know, man. He looks kind of small. It's darker, you know. It's like close to last light. There's corn. It's hard to read the antlers, and I'm just like, no, I think I'm better than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I was on a big deer like you were, but you know, it ended up just not working out. I just made some errors on him, and so I was in the chips, but I think I should have ate one slice at a time. You know, I could have went back to next year and hunted, you know, the bigger bucks or something. So I don't know. It's you know, it's what they say.
To your earlier point, man, hunt your hunt. You know, it's your hunt, not anybody else's. Do whatever's going to make you happy. You know,
yeah, you can crap in one hand and wish in the other and see which one fills up faster. Right?
Yeah, no truer words have been stated than that, my friend. But
yeah, so it's just like that was I hunted Nebraska too. I started in Nebraska, yeah, because it opened September 1st.
Nice.
And that was just, dude, I just never found anything worth a dang. I don't even know if I'd ever hunt there again.
That's kind of what I heard from a couple people, because it's been on my list of places to potentially check out. And I've run into, multiple people. And in particular, I ran into two fellas while I was out in the Midwest this year that were actually coincidentally also from PA. Yeah. And they just said the same thing. They'd hunted Nebraska for a couple different times over the course of, however long. And they said, at one point it was pretty, they had a lot of fun. They had a lot of fun. And they just said now that what you said, at that time they had a rifle tag, I think, which was the only reason why they were going.
Oh, okay.
And they said, but otherwise they said they probably wouldn't go back and hunt.
Yeah, it was all right, man. If you maybe the biggest buck I found was like maybe 100, maybe. He was like old school PA, old school Pennsylvania buck.
Yeah, dude, that dude gets shot. That dude gets shot like 5 times over here. For sure.
I think.
Which, hey, for somebody. Yeah,
Nebraska,
you would think, because
you got to go west, man. I think that's the chips right there. You got to go west, way less deer, but there's bigger deer, and then you get into mule deer. You don't, as long as you're not in that mule deer zone, you can get a mule deer with your whitetail tag out there. But I just didn't go that far. I hunted more like the timber, like southeast Nebraska. I was kind of like close to Kansas. So sometimes when I was hunting Kansas, if I was in a little rough patch, I'd dive up to Nebraska for a day or two just to kind of reset, do something different.
Yep.
And then, but once Iowa opened, I stuck. I the last couple of years I left Iowa to go hunt other states when Iowa was open, and I was just like, man, that's kind of dumb. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So now I won't leave, man. If it's open, I'll probably stay till I kill one, unless someone's like paying me to go hunt somewhere,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, shoot, man, I know I've kept you here for about an hour and a half. I want to be sensitive to your time and let you get going and eat some dinner and whatnot. But I appreciate you coming on, dude. I always like talking to you. I always like catching up with you. You always have great stories. And I appreciate that. You're a man of the woods. And dude, you just like to have fun, man. And that's what it's all about.
Oh yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. I have a blast doing these, and
awesome.
Glad I got to talk to you, and I looking forward to scouting with you, man. Maybe we can circle back and do another one just about like the scouting, what we seen or what we found.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'll hit you up and let you know. I'll text you, obviously, and let you know whenever I'm going to be in country, and we'll get together.
Sounds good, buddy. Awesome.
All right, folks, that is a wrap for today's show. I'd like to thank all of you for listening. And if you haven't yet, please head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast. And hell, while you're at it, head over to YouTube and give us a sub there too. I'd be super appreciative if you do those couple things for me. And before I shut this thing down, I need to give a big shout out to our partners who continue to help us make this podcast possible. Tacticam, Osseo Gear, Hawk Optics, Face Off E-Bikes, and Lathrop & Sons Boot Company. And until next time, we'll see y'all.